Alright, let's get real for a minute. If walls could talk, you wouldn't believe the screams echoing from the rooms where your doubters are currently hiding. The universe just recalibrated, and trust me, the shift wasn't subtle. You know those folks who swore they wouldn't shed a tear over your struggles. They're currently swimming in them behind closed doors. Funny thing is, psychologists say tears are a natural stress reliever, but for them these aren't cleansing tears. They're drowning in regret, weeping not because they've grown, but because you defied their expectations and flipped the script. Think about it, they used to cheer on your failures, and now they're pretending not to care while secretly stalking your every move. They can't publicly celebrate you, but their pillows tell a different story. And honestly, there's a dark humor in watching your former tormentors become the punchline of their own misery. This isn't just karma. It's a cosmic disruption. Your success has shattered their narrative, collapsing the stage they built to keep you beneath them. And the best part, their cries can't stop what's already set in motion. It's time to break down why they're secretly crumbling and why their tears are the loudest testament to your breakthrough. First, they didn't just lose you. They lost their last pretense. This hits them hard. For so long they survived on a carefully crafted image portraying themselves as virtuous and trustworthy. That facade only worked because you were the silent backdrop. As long as you stayed down, their performance was believable. People applauded their role because they cast you as the villain. But when your life took a turn for the better, their stage crumbled. Suddenly, people saw you for who you truly are: strong, resilient, authentic. Your rise didn't just change your story, it exposed theirs. They're not crying because you're winning. They're crying because your victory has pulled back the curtain on their deception. The mask that made them seem untouchable has fallen, and they can't glue it back on. They've been unmasked in real time, and the sting of exposure is more painful than any revenge you could inflict. What makes this even more agonizing is that the truth is now undeniable. They can't spin it, twist it, or convince people you're the problem. Your growth is the evidence of their lies. And the thing that really burns them is that once a mask falls, people never see you the same way. The trust is gone, the admiration is gone. The image they spent years cultivating crumbled in seconds because the truth stood on its own you. That's why the tears flow behind closed doors. They're mourning the version of themselves that only existed because of your silence. They're crying because they know the world will never buy their act again, no matter how hard they try to replay it. They didn't just lose control of your narrative, they lost the fake character they created for themselves, and losing a mask that deep feels like losing your entire identity. That's what's happening now. Their tears aren't about you. They're about the collapse of an illusion they can never rebuild. Second, their schemes didn't backfire. They became their prison. When they plotted against you, they thought they were crafting something ingenious that would trap you and elevate them. Every move was designed to weaken, embarrass, and undermine you. But the irony is that their schemes didn't just fail, they became shackles that now bind them. The very strategies they used to control you are now suffocating them. They're crying in private because they know there's no escape from what they created. Lies need more lies to survive, and soon the whole web becomes so tangled that the liar is the one caught inside. They tried to bury you under rumors only to live in constant fear of exposure themselves. They tried to sabotage your opportunities, but now doors are closing in their faces. They set traps for you, but they're the ones stumbling into the mess they designed. This isn't just poetic justice. It's the brutal law of consequence. A plan rooted in destruction will always collapse on the one who planted it. And that's exactly what's happened here. What was meant to be your downfall has become their prison sentence. They can't escape the weight of their actions. They're forced to carry the evidence of their schemes like heavy chains. And those chains tighten every time you succeed. The private tears are proof of that weight. They thought they'd feel joy watching you struggle, but the opposite has happened. Their lives are smaller, more restricted, more suffocating because of the energy they poured into trying to destroy yours. Now they're not just stuck with their failure, they're stuck with themselves, and that's the punishment. What makes it sting even more is that there's no undoing it. They can't go back and rewrite the past. They can't unplot what's already set in motion. They built their own prison brick by brick, and now they're crying because the bars are closing in. Every plan against you has become a locked door they can't open. That's why their tears fall hardest when no one is watching. Third, they wanted to witness your funeral, but instead they attended their own. That's the raw truth your enemies are choking on right now. For so long they plotted as if your demise was inevitable. They spoke with confidence about your end, almost celebrating in advance because they were convinced you wouldn't survive the storms you faced. They waited for the day you'd break down completely, when life would silence you and confirm every lie they spread. But they didn't expect their celebration to turn into mourning, their own mourning. The shift wasn't subtle. It was a complete reversal. You didn't collapse under the weight. You stood taller. You didn't die in the wilderness. You found strength in it. Every battle you survived became a brick in your foundation, and now that foundation is unshakable. And while you're standing, they're falling apart. What they thought would be your funeral has become the funeral of their ego, their pride, and their sense of superiority. They aren't just crying because you made it. They're crying because everything they invested in your downfall became a wasted effort that killed their credibility. The humiliation cuts deep because they announced your end before it happened. They put their reputations on the line by speaking confidently about your failure, and now your survival exposes them as liars. Every day you thrive is a reminder that they miscalculated. That miscalculation is burying them. Their influence is dead. Their false power is dead. The illusion they tried to maintain about you is dead, and the funeral they're attending is their own, whether they admit it or not. This is why the tears are hidden. Publicly, they act like nothing happened, like they're unbothered, but behind closed doors, the reality is unbearable. They can't stop replaying how badly they lost. They can't escape the shame of realizing that all the energy they poured into destroying you only destroyed them. That's what makes this moment so powerful. They thought they were preparing flowers for your grave, but life handed those flowers back to them as a wreath for their own, a loss they'll never stop grieving. Fourth, your name became untouchable. For a long time they worked tirelessly to drag your name through the mud, thinking a tarnished reputation would lock every door in your life. But they underestimated that a name built on truth, resilience, and survival cannot be destroyed. it only becomes more valuable. That's why your name now opens doors they'll never walk through, a reality that breaks them in silence. Here's what stings the most every time your name is spoken in certain circles: it's with respect, curiosity, and weight. Former doubters are now forced to acknowledge your undeniable credibility. Opportunities are placed before you not because of who co-signs you, but because your story has made your name a key. Meanwhile, their names have become closed gates because people have learned not to trust, invest in, or attach themselves to their energy. This is why they cry behind closed doors. They realize they can't borrow your light, claim your victories, or step into the rooms opening for you. Your name has become a currency, but it's not counterfeitable. They can imitate you, but imitations are always exposed. They can force their way into your spaces, but doors responding to your name will slam shut at theirs. Their pain comes from wasting years trying to bury you instead of building themselves. The value they tried to strip from you has multiplied, and the hard truth is that value isn't fake. It either exists or it doesn't. You proved yours by standing, growing, and rising despite attempts to erase you. Now your name is a passcode they can never crack. No matter how hard they cry, their gate is locked, and your name is the master key. Fifth, they're realizing you were their power source all along. This revelation hits them like a hammer in their private moments. They mocked, belittled, and drained you, but your presence was the battery powering their lives. They tapped into your energy, light, resilience, and vision, feeding off your kindness, creativity, and drive, even as they pretended to despise it. Now that you've cut the cord, they're starving emotionally and spiritually. Without your energy, their world feels dry, heavy, and empty. They thought they could replace you with new faces, but nothing else has your substance or sustains them like you did. That's why they cry in secret. It's withdrawal. They were addicted to your free power and are now shaking without it. The irony is sharp. They called you weak, but your weakness was their lifeline. They called you ordinary, but your presence kept their lives from collapsing. They treated you as disposable, but without you, they're disposable, cast aside by the world they thought they controlled. Their independence mask is cracking because the truth is undeniable. Your energy was the silent engine of their existence. They aren't crying because they miss you as a person. They're crying because they miss the access, how easy it was to draw from you without acknowledging your worth. Once a source cuts you off, you can't demand it back. You can't force water from a sealed well. That realization is killing them slowly. They thought you'd always refill them. Instead, you taught them that their power was never theirs to begin with. Sixth, the applause they stole is just an echo. For years, they lived off borrowed praise, building reputations on what wasn't theirs, taking credit for your efforts, brilliance, and resilience. The recognition they enjoyed was stolen light bouncing off your glow. It seemed convincing at the time, but stolen light always fades because it doesn't belong to them. Now the applause is hollow. The rooms are quieter. The praise doesn't feel the same because people are starting to notice the truth. You were the substance. Without you, their performance has no depth. It's like a song without rhythm. There's noise but no life. They're crying because the emptiness is undeniable. Deep down, they know they're not receiving the same energy because you're no longer the source. The humiliation comes from realizing they can't recreate what you gave them. They can mimic your spirit, ideas, and strength, but imitation always exposes itself. The echo they lived off has gone silent, and what remains is the truth that they never deserved the applause. Their private tears sting because it's not just the loss of attention, it's the exposure. People are seeing that their shine wasn't theirs, that their recognition was built on theft, and that the applause has no foundation. Nothing is more painful than having the mask of greatness removed and facing the fact that without you, they're ordinary. Their claps now sound like an empty room because you gave the performance weight, and without your presence, only the echo of a spotlight remains. 7th, their victory aged like spoiled wine. At first they relished it, laughing and bragging. They celebrated in secret when they thought they had broken you, feeling powerful for a moment. But time exposes what's real, and that moment has soured into something they can't stomach. What felt like triumph now lingers as bitterness they can't wash away. Their victory was never rooted in strength. It was rooted in cruelty, not about them winning, but about you suffering, and victories built on someone's pain always rot. They thought they had proven themselves greater, but they proved how far they'd sink to watch someone fall. That's what eats at them now, because their moment of glory wasn't admirable. It was evidence of their darkness. Now they're crying because those memories haunt them. Instead of pride, they feel shame. Instead of joy, they feel exposed. Every time your name rises, their old celebration reminds them how wrong they were. What they held up as proof of their superiority has become proof of their cruelty. That's why their wine tastes rotten. It never had substance, only venom. The worst part is they can't undo it, erase how they treated you or rejoiced at your lowest. The world may not know the full extent of their actions, but they know, and their conscience is louder than any crowd they impressed. Their tears are the aftertaste of a victory that spoiled long ago. What they thought would define their greatness now defines their downfall, and the bitterness will follow them. 8th, your existence is their silent undoing. You stand as living proof that dismantles the lies they so confidently spread. Every breath you take, every strong choice you make silently condemns the version of you they tried to create. This truth overwhelms them because they can't erase a silent but undeniable testament to their malice. 9th, they don't miss you. They miss the control. Their tears flow from the cold realization that the leash they held over your life is gone. They long to bend your story and dictate your choices once more, but you now move freely, unfazed by their attempts at manipulation. Their addiction to power is unmet, and their influence fades with your liberation. 10th, your resilience shattered their comfort zone. The stability they derived from your perceived weakness crumbled when you refused to break. Their identity, built on the false comparison to your struggles, now lacks a foundation. They are forced to confront their true ordinary selves without the illusion of superiority. 11th, your achievements expose their failures. Your success reflects back at them everything they could have been but didn't. Each milestone you reach serves as a sermon they never asked for, reminding them of their excuses and lack of discipline. Your achievements aren't just wins, they're proof that effort pays off and consistency breaks barriers. 12th, they betrayed destiny, not just you. The weight of standing against a plan bigger than themselves drowns them in private tears. They didn't just fight your strength. They wrestled with the assignment on your life, a battle they were destined to lose from the beginning. Your continued existence screams that what you carry is beyond their control. 13th, their secrets scream louder than their lies. The carefully managed appearances are shattered, and their own wrongdoings rise to expose the falsehoods they created. Their lies crumble under the weight of your growth and transformation, leaving them exposed with the walls closing in. 14th, you are their unfinished lesson. You, the one they tried to erase, stand taller than ever, reminding them of their failure. They are trapped in a never-ending class where the test is always failure. You are the interruption to their narrative, the unresolved chapter, the constant proof that evil does not have the final word. Something massive has shifted, leaving your enemies weeping in silence. Their tears are not for you, but for their broken illusions and the power they thought they had. Every secret is surfacing, every lie collapsing, and every attempt to erase you has backfired into making you shine brighter. You are no longer their target. You are their torment, their unfinished lesson, their living reminder that destiny cannot be defeated. And here's the beauty: you don't even need to lift a finger. Your existence, your rise, your resilience does all the speaking for you. They now choke on their own regret, realizing the game was never theirs to control. You've won by simply surviving, and survival has turned into elevation. So stand firm. Their tears are proof not of your weakness, but of your unstoppable strength. Their cries behind closed doors are the echoes of a system that failed, of a strategy that collapsed, of a story that will never be written the way they planned. You are walking evidence that a greater plan is at play. If this resonates, share it, because someone out there needs to hear this truth. Stay tuned, because there's more coming. Elsa, Elsa, Elsa.